Three, two, one. Yeah, we are live. जी बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम कुल हुवल्लाहु अहद अल्लाहु समद लम यलिद वलम यूलद वलम यकुल लहू कुफुवन अहद. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are here with our episode 1 on CXO Podcast as suggested by Mr. Imad. And our topic for today is AI, artificial intelligence, and how is it changing our world, our work, our life, everything. So, we call it AI revolution. So, myself, Shehzad Dhedhi and Imaduddin Shaikh would be co-hosting this event. This is a podcast, so there is no interviewer or interviewee, but we would love to ask each other some questions as well as opinions. So, it is an opinion-based podcast. So, this is the first of a kind. So far, whatever podcast I had are kind of interviews with my guests, so those are based on the opinions of others. So in this podcast, I would also express my opinions as well. So this is the change for the first time, and this was actually suggested by Imad. So Imad, थोड़ा सा हम बात करते हैं regarding this idea and why are we having this podcast, and what are your thought processes before going into the discussion. Over to you, Imad.
Thank you. So first of all, assalamu alaikum. Hello, hi everyone. Uh, the idea is basically there is not enough content for the professional community in our region to discuss our key issues, to discuss what we go through, to discuss the key changes that the world is going through. And it's not just for professional content. We're also talking about a lot of other global updates which are very relevant. Maybe they might be political, they might be slightly off the tangent, but we won't shy away from discussing those issues as well because all of those things eventually affect our world and affect our lives. So take it as a semi-casual kind of podcast, even though we are going to have some strategic uh, view. We are going to have some really good guests, inshallah. But try to not take it too seriously. Let's have some fun and consider it semi-casual or semi-formal, if you wish. So that's the view, that's the perspective. So coming to a topic, Shehzad Saab, when we talk about AI, let me just remind you that a few years back the buzzword was data, and then the buzzword became the big data, and now the buzzword is AI, and people have started already talking about AGI. So how do you make sense of all these words, and how do you differentiate the AI from AGI? Let's say, how do you define AI? And now some other terminologies is also super intelligence and AI revolution. So how do you see all of these things, especially when there's no strict definition to any of these things?
So actually, I don't define anything because defining things and stating things I have already left in the past. So for me, it is about the use. How am I using? Whether I am using AI or whether it is called generative AI or whether it is called AGI or whether it is agentic AI. There are so many terms. So it depends on my objective. So I am more concerned as of today in 2026. Maybe in 2021 or 2022, I might have a similar kind of discussion for AI. And we had webinars on ChatGPT and things like that. But for 2026 and onwards, so I would be love to be discussing about the usage and the use cases of AI. So as far as as we were discussing offline, so most of my day, most of my work is now about getting things done through AI. So
But before you,
how?
I'm
Yeah,
sorry. Before you get into how you are using AI or what are the
yeah.
key benefits that we can have, one of the key discussion that we have is there would be a revolutionary change when we move from AI to AGI, right? People are seeing this happening, that AI is growing very fast, AI is improving very fast, but the key concern is the predictability. Where would we
Hmm.
be 10 years from now? So when we say that, how we define AI or AGI, what we are talking about is basically how, when we would know, let's say that AI is able to replace humans in not just the entry level tasks, but maybe on, let's say CXO level tasks. That
I
would be.
think, yeah, I think despite so many discussions and despite so many opinions, people guess that only the entry level jobs or the repetitive tasks are at risk. I think everybody's job is at risk, including the CEO. Um, Artificial general intelligence (AGI) can also replace a CEO, in my opinion. Uh, uh, Poets might also be replaced in future. So far, I think that emotional intelligence is or creativity is something associated with humans and not associated with AI. It's mostly about IQ whenever we discuss about AI. So, but so far, but I think AI and AGI is improving, and in future, I expect that the AI would be emotionally more intelligent. So, for example, you can create poetry right now, and AI can write a very good poetry for you, including the emotional aspects. But right now, my challenge is, can I reproduce a poet like William Shakespeare, a poet like Mirza Khalid? So, right now, my answer would be no. Currently, we are unable to produce poetry like Mirza Khalid's poetry or Faiz Ahmad Faiz poetry. But would we be able to replace and create a clone of Mirza Ghalib? Maybe in future, yes. So I think everyone and every job is replaceable as I see AI. What's your take, Imad?
Yeah. Well, the CEO and the founder of Google DeepMind, he had a view on this, and he says that current systems are not able to replicate AGI or to reach AGI. What he's currently saying is,
Hmm.
he probably said it last week in India, right? So it's a very recent view. And what he's saying is, but he's not pessimistic. He's saying that even then we can reach AGI by, let's say, 5 years or 3 to 5 years. What he's telling us is that AGI, in his definition, is that where AI can do all the works that a human mind can do, and it can
Hmm.
do at least as reliably.
Hmm.
So right now, the LLMs that we have in the shape of AI are basically probabilistic models. So they what they do is they have some tokens, they have some words, and they try to predict the future words based on probability that they have based on their data. The problem is
Hmm.
that even when they have low probabilities for the next words and they have no high probability thing, they still produce some results, and that's where they tend to hallucinate. Or even if they don't hallucinate, they don't always provide high quality judgment.
Hmm.
So they are primarily working based on what the data they have and not really thinking about what they're doing, nor do they know the meaning of what they're talking about. So that's but because it's a very successful model, this is scaling very fast. It has not yet hit a bottleneck of intelligence, so we are using it. But there is a lot of work that is going in alternate, uh, which are developing different kind of models which can do mathematical reasoning, logical reasoning, and which can try to understand, create the models of the world in their own self. So rather than just randomly generating numbers or words based on probabilities, they actually have a model of reality which they try to express when they talk about it. So we are advancing in different ways, and so the current models that we have might not be as reliable as humans are, but again, humans are also not very reliable. So if you ask a junior to do something, he might completely get your instruction wrong and come up with a wrong result. Similarly, AI do the same. But the question is, how reliable are humans as compared to the AI? For example, when you talk about self-driving cars, uh,
Hmm.
they are again just AI models. They're just generative models,
Yes.
but because they have trained them so well that the probability of accident is lower than the probability of accident as compared to humans, so they have started making a business case.
So
Remember,
I am
the same thing can happen.
yeah,
The same thing
yeah.
can happen in financial services industry when AI becomes as
So
smart.
before going into financial discussion, I want to create an hypothetical case for you. So, for example, two countries are entering into a war, and currently the decisions are being taken by humans. So, suppose if you are going to outsource the decision making to AI, and now AI is to decide to attack on the enemy's installations or enemy's aircrafts. So what's your take on that? Who should be able to decide, AI or human? You said that human could be very stupid. So could AI be smarter than humans in terms whenever we discuss about the war?
Let me surprise you by telling you that this is not a hypothetical question,
Hmm.
because this is how Google DeepMind initially started. They started creating a general learning framework, a
Hmm.
code that can learn any game it plays. So they started
Hmm.
with very simple and basic games, and they grew it to very complex war games,
Hmm.
right?
Okay.
And so they were able to defeat the top uh, global champion, because the AI became so powerful by playing with itself, different strategies, different tactics, and all that. So I'm very sure that different governments around the world already have similar models. They're already wargaming all the time
No,
and making their models more and more
but as
smarter.
I mentioned, as I mentioned, humans are taking the decisions, right? Currently, humans are taking decisions. Would you outsource the decision making to AI?
See, AI might be very good at winning a war, but
Hmm.
when a real war happens, we are not only I'm not an expert, but I followed some Indo-Pakistan news, so I do understand that the only concern is not about winning the war, it's also about containing the damage. So it's also about maintaining how much you escalate something. So AI might have a way of winning a war which might escalate the war to the next level immediately. So we
Hmm.
cannot completely, at least what the models that might exist right now, I don't think people can completely outsource that as well. So let's say US, when they attacked Iran, they could not have outsourced the decision making to AI, because AI might have suggested 10 more attacks or all of that stuff. So you cannot be
Forget about it.
on
In
autopilot.
future, 50 years from now, 100 years from now, how do you see it? Would AI be taking the decisions, or would it still be the human taking the decision behind AI
It depends on the
whenever there is a war?
complexities. It depends on
Hmm.
complexities, I believe, because AI would be best in a wargaming, no doubt about it. They can
Hmm.
simulate so many scenarios that we cannot. Uh,
Hmm.
real army generals, what they do
Hmm.
is they do wargaming,
Hmm.
and they play a lot of games to make sure that where their strategy works and the other person's. So it's their practice.
No,
There's
but
no way to.
AI would not be careful in terms of decisions regarding human lives. AI might not be careful who dies, whether these are kids or elderly people, or it can damage hospitals, it can damage schools, right? So, do you think that AI, especially AGI, as you mentioned, can be trained enough to not only take decisions to win the war, but also to manage the collateral damage and keep the collateral damage as low as possible? Since we know about the accuracy of AI, so we can manage zero collateral damage through with the use of AI, right? Is it possible?
I think that AI would make decisions that have much lower casualties than what humans try to do. Humans are way
Hmm.
more vicious than AI would ever be, I think. But again, if it's about winning a war between two nuclear countries, then of course the AI can have way more destructive ideas than humans would have. But AI, what's interesting is that AI is not being created specifically for targeting people and public surveillance and creating casualties. If you to talk about Gaza especially, a lot of tech companies are tracking people and until they go to their homes, and then that's where they get attacked, and they have specific names for those companies, and
Okay,
a lot of
so
service going on. Yeah,
it comes to another question. There is ethics in the use of AI. For example, as you mentioned, public surveillance. So should AI be allowed for the surveillance? Is kind of ethical question. Now again, who would decide the ethics for the AI? Would it be human deciding the ethics for AI?
of course, the humans in power, the governments will decide, and they do decide, and they normally decide in favor of whatever gives them better, more leverage and more control.
So there
So
is no actually specific decision what is ethical and what is non-ethical.
like, who would decide?
Yeah. So it
To
is
what
not the
extent?
human.
To what extent
So
surveillance is ethical upon your citizens? Who would decide that?
So, for example, it is not the religion or culture or norms which decide what is ethical and unethical. It is the people who decide what is ethical and what is unethical, right?
Like, I don't understand your question. What are you trying to get at? Like, ethics is
Hmm.
o- often suppressed by the people who are in power and who makes decisions for their own convenience, right?
Hmm.
And especially with the Epstein files, we have now realized how the world works.
Hmm.
Peop early in the days, people used to call these conspiracy theories. Now we know, in fact, how above the government there are people who are just playing around, and they have tri-age commissions who of people in power, politics, and money, uh, admittedly, and they transfer weapons, they transfer uh, people, God forbid, for vicious reasons, right? And so these games are constantly being played, and all the governments probably know all of that, right? And but this is something above the governments, and governments probably enjoy uh, the output of these kind of activities.
Okay. So coming to, you have recently created a model on financial, right? You have used Replit, I guess, or some other models to create your own AI on financial IFRS advisory,
Yeah.
right? Can you let us know about your IFRS advisory? How is it going, and your experience, use of AI, and why did you think about using AI, and why do you think that it can replace the human advisory of IFRS?
Basically, I started my own company back in February 2025. Since then, I've been working with different firms, different companies, and before that, I've been working in IFI advisory for the last 4 years. So I do realize that advisory has a lot of potential to be automated with AI. And one of the biggest evidence of that is uh, one company has recently uh, one company has recently issued raised $650 million in capital, and that company is basically automating the work of lawyers, right? So the lawyers can now, get opinion or get their research done via AI, and that company has now raised $650 million, right? And if how risky is the work in law? Can you imagine? And now, because that person has brute force his has written thousands of evals, that person has fine tuned the model to the extent that it is now giving right answers. So that's also my vision in finance, in financial reporting, IFRS compliant financial reporting. So I thought, why cannot my work also be automated? And if it has to be automated, someone who is already an IFRS expert should do it better than uh, software engineers, right? So that's my perspective here, because I've been working in IFRS advisory for a very long time. My view is that this work can be automated, and successfully we have already completed IFRS 16 implementation, which means uh, if you lease contracts, hundreds of thousands of lease contracts, you can automate all of those uh, from end to end, from the contract to the disclosures, um, including all the complex aspects, including all the, for example, termination options, extension options, and all the intricacies of IFRS 16, including the modifications. So one of the key features that I created in that tool is it understands the modification. You can input the data, and based on that, it automatically updates the lease schedule. It automatically updates the journal entries and the lease disclosures, and so no human work is involved in the middle. So that was my objective. That was my vision, because probably all the lease accounting tools that exist right now do not have those capabilities, and so the idea is eventually to uh, replicate those capabilities to other aspects as well, including IFRS 9 initial modeling, IFRS 15 revenue recognition, and consolidation, and eventually to entire financial statement preparation, including notes and disclosures. So right now, when I tell people, people say, it doesn't seem very plausible. It doesn't seem possible to do that. When you start working with AI and you start fine tuning it, you realize its power. The only problem is that people give up very soon. You have to, keep working with it, keep making it better and better to the point where it works better than humans. So I believe so far what we have tested in IFRS 16 tool, it works obviously way better than Excel sheets, way better than what humans do, but also automates the entire cycle completely.
Hmm. There are a few comments on LinkedIn as well as on YouTube. So, Mr. Salim Khan is saying great uh, for discussion, great topic for discussion.
Thank
Another
you.
one is topic is unique and needs to be discussed at length. Sure, Salim Saab, we have noted, and we would have more on this. Imad is an expert. He is already doing a lot, and I would also discuss about how we are doing ESG through AI, maybe today or maybe in a later episode. So new batch announcement, some marketing by some guy, and somebody is saying about AI drones. So history doc 61. I don't know your name. It is mentioned on your YouTube. AI drones in Ukraine and Russia. So right now, when we were discussing about war, I think he mentioned few comments, and another from him is happening right now.
Absolutely, absolutely.
AI is making decisions right now. He's saying that AI is look at China. So when we were discussing about war, so again, so do you think that the decision making should be outsourced to AI or not? So I believe that actually you are of the view that it should be outsourced, right? As far as it is not unethical. Is this your view? I can assume that.
See, there are a lot of scenarios. Depends on the risk that would result from decision making. Um, so in a very high stakes scenario, let's say you have to decide a strategy of the company, you cannot leave it alone to AI. And again, what timeline are we talking about? Are we talking about right now, or are we talking about 50 years from now? Because we cannot predict what AI would be able to do 50 years from now. Maybe it can have the leadership decisions for companies in the future. Right now, we can use it this at a strategic level as a decision making pal. We can do to and fro with it and try to come up with that or on our own decisions. But those decisions would be a reflection of what we are talking with the AI right now. They would not be
I
a
think
reflection of
I
what
think it would
AI
not
can do
require
independently.
50 years. Maybe it is 5 years. Maybe because the speed or velocity of change after AI is very fast. I think it is growing at the speed of light. Every day I come up with uh, new product announcement, new technologies, new innovations. Even during these summits, a lot of ideas are being shared during world level summits or conferences. Even these discussions are taking place at senates and parliamentarian discussions worldwide. I'm not sure about Pakistan, but definitely yes for the developed countries. And even the smart cities are being managed. The countries have cloned the entire city into a twin city, which is a digital twin. So that is already happening, and most of the things are being done through AI, and most of the contracts, the government contracts, are happening between OpenAI and other platforms, Google. Governments and even I think the army is also going into contracts with the AI service providers. So a lot is happening already. And what asked in the beginning, that is creating a Mirza Ghalib through AI, I think it is possible. Right now, it might not look possible. There are serious things which are being discussed. I had already mentioned in one of the events that how can I replicate emotions? How can I put in emotions into AI? And I gave my example in that conference that AI does not go through the pain. For example, death of your mother, uh, uh, divorce, or a breakup with a girlfriend. So AI does not go through these kind of situations. AI does not feel pain. So uh, for me initially, for last year maybe, for a few months ago, I thought it impossible for AI to have emotions. But a couple of weeks ago, I had a good discussion with my friend who is an engineer. He said, "Why not?" And he presented me with a video. And later, I realized that all the poetry as well as the model was actually AI and not human. So the poetry was emotional. So which means you can also train AI for the emotions. Now the question is, with how would a human behave when his mother dies? So the normal answer is he cries. But human can deviate from this. You can train AI on the basis of a general observation. For example, 90% of the humans cry on the death of their mother. But can there be some exceptions? Yes, definitely yes. A person can laugh, a person can give different kinds of emotional reactions on death of his mother, or a breakup or a divorce. So, which means there might be so many possibilities built into that AI. And once we create so many possibilities of emotions, emotional reactions, so yes, we can create very creative poet through AI. What's your take
See,
on that?
what you're talking about is basically AI mimicking human emotions.
Hmm.
That's a different point, but AI understanding human emotions, AI feeling human
Hmm.
emotions, that is
Why
still
not?
something that
Why not? Why
we cannot
not?
comprehend.
For example, you are creating something through generative AI, and if your response is thank you, do you get any response from the generative AI? I think yes, right? So isn't AI already responsive to your human expressions in your verbal communication? I
See,
can understand that it would be difficult for AI right now to understand non-verbal gestures of human, right? But is it already understanding the verbal communication of emotions? I think yes.
if you're talking about how AI responds to humans, it can
Hmm.
easily respond to humans' emotions. It can understand
Hmm.
uh, how we talk, even if we are slightly aggressive in a sentence, they
Hmm.
figure it out. They talk,
Yes.
respond
Yeah. Yeah.
appropriately, right? So that's understandable, and
Yeah.
it's not a big deal if they start understanding gestures as well. So with
Hmm.
slight, I'm sure a lot of companies might already be working on it with slight deviations in their uh, eye muscle, nose muscle, lips muscles, body language gestures. They can track it, and based on that, they can actually come up with a
Yeah.
conclusion about the person's
Yes.
mood and behavior. It's very doable. That's not a big deal at all, given what we have in technology already.
So I think in some way, AI's intelligence is more reliable than human intelligence in some cases, not all cases. And whenever you have a kind of controlled environment, for example, anger management, so it's difficult to manage anger by human, but AI can manage anger. AI does not have any anger by itself unless you create some kind of clone or some kind of characters which has anger, right? So for AI, you can manage everything in a controlled environment as compared to humans. The challenge is actually human stupidity, right? And human stupidity can be a blessing in disguise as well.
Let's maybe it's a good time to switch this discussion to application in finance, application in
Sure.
financial services. So, how would you define how reliable is AI and for what purposes?
So for financial and for work, because you require a lot of calculations and you have standards and you have methods and you have laws and you have to comply. So for any kind of environment like financials, like financial reporting, I would trust more on AI than on humans. This is me as a chartered accountant. My view is that I would love to have more kind of AI solutions than human solutions. How do you see that? Do you prefer human solutions over AI solutions whenever we discuss about financial or compliance or risk management?
See, it's very much like self-driving cars. Unless you have not used a self-driving car several times and are still alive, you would be very cautious. You would want some human hands on something, right?
Why?
and
Why?
that's how everyone feels right now,
Why?
because of the risk of errors, because of
No, but
hallucination.
in terms of financials, for example, if your financial reporting is wrong,
Mhm.
okay, there is not a life-threatening situation. So let's park the human driving or medical science for later discussions. Right now, we are discussing about financial reporting, the numbers. So we relied on the calculators, right? We relied on the computers, Excel sheets, did we? And we relied very heavily. So actually, these are also technology. Humans were also calculating numbers. Humans were also doing all these things manually in the past. But all these manual work, like computations, like recording, everything was actually automated. At that time, AI was not introduced, but the solutions were there to automate things and to calculate numbers, right? And we used supercomputers or anything, any kind of even calculators for calculations and reporting. So humans have already relied a lot on the technology as far as the financial reporting and the compliances are concerned. So if you take any example of any corporate environment, humans have already trusted the technology. So I believe that human would still continue to trust the AI for its reporting, for its calculations and things like that. And it does not require much effort for human to trust on AI for these. Your take on that?
See, the problem is that when we talk about calculators, when we talk about traditional SaaS, we are talking about determinism. Their pathways are very logical. The logic is already predefined when we talk about the traditional software. If this happened, then this should happen. If this does not happen,
Hmm.
then consider this. And if this happens, then this should happen. AI is slightly more fuzzy than that, and therefore it's slightly more probabilistic, and therefore it can have a range of different outputs and for the same input. So let's say if you give an AI a single TB trial balance
Hmm.
to make a financial statement as IFRS compliant,
Okay.
that's what I'm trying to achieve, and all the
Okay.
notes, right?
Okay.
And if you give it one time, it gives a different answer. It probably designs the financial
No,
statement
I
in a
think
different
you are
way.
talking about Chat GPT. You are not talking about purpose-built AI.
I'm trying. I'm talking about a purpose-built AI. Let's say if that purpose-built AI does this is what it
Hmm.
does. It
Hmm.
creates a different kind of file statement first time, a different kind in the second time. First time it creates different line items, even though they are all right. The second time it does a different line items. Let's say if it has to
That's
make a
interesting.
financial, let's say if it has to make a judgment about what the
Hmm.
valuation should be or whether there should be an implement testing or not, and
Hmm.
let's say it misses it because it forgets to, because it doesn't go through a stringent criteria, right? It's going through um, a vague judgment, so it might miss a judgment as well. Humans might do that as well, but under
No,
AI,
which means
we might
which
rely it
means
completely.
which means AI is ill prepared and the model is not developed fully.
See, model would never be completely developed for any
No,
particular specified task. You have to
if
develop it.
if your purpose-built system is still hallucinating, then there is a problem.
No, I'm not
So
talking about hallucination.
I can understand that Chat GPT or the general AI models can models can hallucinate. Now again, it varies from one kind of like Chat GPT to Gemini. The hallucinations might be different. So I think there are more hallucinations when you talk about Chat GPT as compared to various others. So when you have a purpose-built AI, I think the first thing is one of the check is that it should not hallucinate.
See, the problem that I'm trying to present is not about hallucination. See, what I'm saying is the problem is not hallucination right now.
Hmm.
If it's a very advanced system, it might not hallucinate as frequently.
Okay.
That might be one in a million chance or one in 100,000 chance, right?
Okay.
Right now, what I'm talking about the deviation in its output, despite being right.
Despite being right, why would it vary if it has a particular format? For example, you have a state bank reporting and you are reporting for say Habib Bank Limited, and AI already knows the formats of Habib Bank and in compliance with the state bank's requirement, right? And since it is already built into the system, so whenever you produce financial statements from the same TV, it will show you the same result in terms of your financial statements as well as the notes. If it is purpose built, if you have already inputted the outcome. Actually, you have already incorporated the desired outcome in your system. If it is
See,
not, if you have not actually identified your desired outcome, then okay, then I agree with you. Then there might be possibly different kind of financial statements. But if you have already incorporated the same set of rules, as well as the formats of a state bank. State Bank issues the formats of financial statement reporting. So it is line by line. So AI
see,
would still follow those lines.
okay. What you are saying, your if means if the system is ideal,
No, a
right?
purpose-built system, yeah, it has to be. It has to
If a
be
purpose,
because you have built a system. For
there is a
example, your
way.
ERP, your ERP is already doing it, right?
Yeah.
So you have to go beyond ARP, right? So AI based solution should be better than your existing ERP, which is not AI based. If AI based solution is not giving you better results in terms of, you can also ask questions, you can also draw anything by just giving a one liner to AI, and you can also create a lot of dashboards instead of the purpose built dashboards. So for dashboards, I agree, so that it can produce a lot of dashboards. Whenever you give a command, it can produce. But the main the reporting framework, I think the AI would comply with that.
See, first of all, let me just give you an analogy. Think of AI as your muscles, and think of ERP as your bones.
Okay.
There are certain things that need to be set in stone. They should
Hmm.
not deviate. There should be no room for judgment in them,
Hmm.
right? But then on top of it, you should have more mass, which would allow you to do a lot of more things. Now, when you say if it's a purpose-built system, you are assuming that purpose-built system is buildable given the current technology, right? And
Hmm.
that purpose-built system is an ideal system. But what I'm saying is that why does that purpose-built system already doesn't exist? Because there are challenges, and I'm pointing to those challenges. I'm not saying that those challenges are not solvable. That's what I'm trying to do.
Hmm.
I'm trying to
Hmm.
solve those challenges to make sure that we reach a point where this is much better than what humans can do. That's
Hmm. Yeah.
If that doesn't happen, I don't succeed, right? But
Yes.
I'm telling you that there are challenges because it's fuzzy system, and therefore it should not be used primarily using the AI. We should have both these things. We should have hard logic coupled with AI, and that's how we reach the right conclusion. You are talking about formats, right? There should be hard logic about how formats should apply. There should not be enough room to deviate from those formats by way of interpretation. So AI could interpret those formats in 10 different ways and may deviate with a stretch of imagination to a very different thing. So we should have a hard logic to what extent it can deviate, right? So that's important.
Hmm. Okay.
So yeah, any successful AI powered automation system should have both the aspects, the hard logic, which makes sure that the outcome is in the right direction, and also a lot of uh, trained, especially fine tuned models to use those hard logic produce outcomes to further automate those tasks and to further make better judgments to further uh, uh, add to the output.
Okay. So for me, if it is AI based ERP, and for example your formats are changed by the regulator, or the new IFRS updates are announced, or new company law is I think introduced in the whatever country it is. So AI should be adaptable easily as compared with your hardcore ERP, because currently if there are some kinds of changes in the laws or the regulations or the standards, you consume a lot of days or maybe months uh, to switch from your current system to a future system. So in future, if all these ERPs are AI enabled, so if there is any change in any kind of law or standard or regulation or format, so I believe that it would be much, much, much easier to convert that system to make it ready according to the new laws and situation, right? So
So what you're talking about,
I,
yeah,
yeah,
what you're
yeah.
saying is actually way far ahead of what we have right now.
No, why
So, for
not? Why
example,
not? We already have it. We already have it. Yeah, in terms of progress, in terms of implementation, especially in Pakistan, yes, it could not be seen in the financial reporting side. Yes, right. But at the same time, you can see this develop for ESG reporting. You know, a lot of people has worked for manually for decades for financial reporting, maybe hundreds of years for financial reporting, right? But for ESG, people are not still ready, but the AI is ready. Yeah, AI can capture information in a blink of a second, while a lot of days and months are required accumulating or capturing the same information by human. So I think it is already happening. And if there are any changes in, for example, in GRI, Global Reporting Initiative, or new IFRS is introduced, or any if there is any change in any standard, SASB, IASSB, CSRD, any change anywhere, or maybe your country establishes new framework for ESG reporting, you can build this in system in a couple of days if it is AI based. And I have seen it, and I'm actually giving demo to a lot of companies for that. So I believe that the same thing we are doing for ESG can be done for accounting reporting side, right?
absolutely.
Uh, but the thing is, we are heavily dependent on few brands. For example, for ERP, we have so and so brand. I can name a few. For example, SAP and Oracle. So since we are dependent on these technologies, they have particular kind of standards. So they are also following all those standards, and these are not AI based. Once these become AI based, or maybe for example, OpenAI introduces an ERP, or maybe you acquire an ERP system from Google, which is AI supported. All the current scenario which you are seeing that it is not looking feasible to you would be changed, and that I call revolution. The heading of our webinar is also for the readiness for the AI revolution. So, are we ready to adopt to new technologies which are AI based?
Uh, I'm not saying anything is feasible or not feasible. I'm only talking about what is capable, what the capability is right now. So when you talk about updates in IFRS S1 or S2 or GRI
Mm,
standards, that would require some human to tell the AI or to further
mm,
train the AI and to adapt it to the new standards. The same could happen to any SaaS system as well. Let's say, for example, tomorrow someone said that you have to now check finance and operating leases in IFRS 16 for lessees. The SaaS
mm.
system would have to make a few adjustments over a couple of days and it can make those changes as well. But for an AI to make those changes to the software code itself and to be very reliable in those changes and not be supervised by an human, that would require super intelligence, which is slightly away from now. But
I think it's
some
a
level
matter
of
of few days,
yeah.
not more than few days.
All right, but super intelligence does not exist right now, and we have
Time
to
has
somehow
changed. Now time has changed. Now, if you still require a couple of months or maybe years, it means it is strategic.
no. See,
It is intentional. It is deliberate.
couple of months, couple of days are out of the window already. People are wipe coding huge apps, huge software applications just in a couple of days. So yes, you're right
Yep.
about that.
Yep.
But humans eventually talk to AI and make it work. Because if you leave it alone to AI right now, if you say something to AI and want an ERP to be created, that cannot happen right now.
Mhm.
You have to
No, it
have
is
it.
not complete ecosystem change. I think you are talking about ecosystem change. There's few changes. For example, the new standard comes, for example, which replaces the leases, or for example, which replaces maybe your financial instruments. So, for example, IFRS 9. So actually, it would not be a complete change or a revolutionary change. We know how these changes are incorporated by IASB or other gap reporting bodies, right? So normally these all these changes can be predicted,
Mhm.
and all these changes are also not sudden. There are deliberations, there are drafts issues, and there is a transition. So you're already getting a lot of time. Number one. Number two, it does not change the basic nature of accounting or reporting. So, so they can be like for example, from classification from this to classification from this, for example, or for example, the presentation from the IFRS 18 has changed the presentation a bit. So, for example, your sales less cost of goods is equal to gross profit minus admin expenses. Now it has changed to IFRS 18 news reporting style, right? Now you know your operating profit more accurately than previously. So actually, these are the changes in the and these changes, I believe, can be done in a couple of days, not more than that.
I agree with you. I agree with you on that.
Yeah. So I believe now the problem is the people do shy away by embrace from embracing AI. Now, why do they shy away, or why do they believe that AI might be not be a good solution? Now, there are many reasons for that. Number one could be cost, right? In Pakistani environment, if you ask any organization to adopt AI, so number one challenge could be cost. Now, the cost I believe in future, and I see it today, AI based solutions are costing less than non AI based solutions in most of the cases. Number one. So, my view is that AI is actually reducing your cost. And if you really calculate your ROI, return on investment, so AI is giving you huge benefit. That is my opinion. I can convince a lot of people. But there is still a threat, or there is still talk about the cost. Number two is if AI is being adopted and is being embraced by a lot of people who are in IT, information technology department, and if you have a department of say 800 people in your organization, so being the head of that department, you believe that if you adopt AI, you might not require 800 people. You might not even require 100 people. So there is a serious concern about the loss of jobs in your existing organization. You understand that? So if you go on adoption of AI revolution, so it will impact your number of employees hired. You can get things done from maybe from 10 employee, the same work you are getting from 800 employees, right? So there is another challenge. So actually, the CIO or the CTO would give a lot of explanations and justifications for not adopting AI. This is my view as with discussion with a lot. For example, in one of the company, I suggested for cloud implementation, but there was a huge resistance. Why? Because the company had a lot of data centers, and they had heavily invested, and there were 300 people working for those data centers. So if I was recommending from the on-premises data centers to cloud-based system, so they were sensing a loss of hundreds of jobs actually. So they were very resistant and they were not ready. Now the problem is AI readiness is also a decision of a human. Now your role and my role is to discuss about those things on the fears, on apprehensions, and whether AI is an actually a threat or perceived as a threat. Now, right now, I'm discussing about the cost. I'm discussing about the loss of jobs. I'm discussing about the current discussions being had. There is another discussion which is the data privacy. There is another discussion, and yes, there is an issue in terms of privacy of data and the security. So for example, if you're adopting some technology already, you are also implementing cyber security in relation to the technology you are having, right? So if you are heavily dependent on AI, you should also have similar kind of security for data privacy as well as security. What do you think about that?
The first aspect that you talked about, the loss of job, um, is real, but it's temporary, I believe. Um,
No, I'm not
right
going
now,
into
right
general
now in
discussion. I'm
Silicon
not going
Valley,
into general discussion. If you talk
yeah,
about one company a bank, so actually there is a huge loss perceived.
I was giving you an
Whether
example.
it is actual or not, I don't know. There is another discussion. But
See,
the first perception is loss of job.
yeah, let me talk about it. Right now in Silicon Valley, there are a lot of startups that are not hiring developers.
Hmm.
Rather, they have armies of agents that are working for them. So, in place of 50 people, right now only 55 are working, and they're working very efficiently.
Hmm.
So, this is real time. This is already happening. When you talk about banks, for example, imagine a time when there was no IT systems, there was no internet. How many
Hmm.
people used to work in a branch to make it work? How many manual journal entries were made in
Hmm.
literally paper registers, right? Before
Yes.
computers, right?
Yes.
After computers came, after computers came, all those people were not needed. But did the employment increase or decrease?
Increased.
Temporarily, maybe
Increased is significantly increased.
absolutely. Temporarily, probably there might have been people who might have lost their jobs, but eventually, because the productivity increased, the
No, but
jobs
not the
increased.
same. But not the same jobs. You don't require
Absolutely,
a person to
absolutely,
write ledgers, right?
completely agree. There would be different
You
kind of
don't
jobs.
require a person to type letters, right?
Yeah, true, true. Similarly, but let's go further back. When the tractors were first invented, people were worried that all the farm workers would be jobless and there would be a complete devastation because now you
Hmm.
don't need 100 people to do the job because one tractor can do what 100 people could do.
I can understand generally, yes, but as a first threat, like if you are going to implement next month some AI. Now, for ESC, it is working fine. Why? Because people don't, the companies do not have a lot of people in ESC department, right? It's a new thing. So instead of employing people, maybe they can employ one or two or five people in ESC department. The rest of the work they can outsource to an AI-based solution, right? But this is not seem possible in terms of other department operations and finance.
Yeah,
Once these are feasible, or for the new companies, yes, for the new companies or new banks, yes, I believe that all the new companies, new setups, startups should at the start they should be digital on the first day, and they should have AI in their strategy from day one. That's the problem actually. Uh, the old style companies are having right now, which have already invested so much into their uh, orthodox technologies instead of AI based technologies.
see, one key issue is that right now people or the bigger companies should not only worry about updating their ERPs which have the right AI,
Hmm.
they might have to worry about being AI first organizations.
Yes,
When something is AI first, then a lot of processes would be completely run differently, would have completely different number of people, completely different way of doing
true,
things. And so when we talk about
absolutely.
SAP or other ERP, those ERPs would not be relevant at all because
Yes,
and that's the future.
yes, yes,
Because those companies which are using old ERPs and old systems would inevitably be out competed by the new companies or the new
yes,
generation companies.
true,
So this is not a choice. This is not something anyone can stop or manually take a decision. This is something that the market forces would decide.
true.
And so maybe governments can try to slow down or maybe have a better leverage on it so that it doesn't result in huge number of unemployment or any economic distress to any country or to any economy. So they might want to balance things out because once that happens, that kind of revolution comes up, uh, we might not be ready for it. Even you and I might not be ready for it. We might have to see some change. We were not ready for COVID-19, right? So we don't know how abrupt that change may be. That might be slow, that might be fast, but it might come in ways we do not expect.
No, but some of us and some of the companies were very resilient and adaptive to COVID-19. Likewise, there would be a lot of governments as well as companies as well as people who are already adapting and who are resilient. Now the question is, how do you see Pakistan or other countries like Pakistan? Are they the leaders in terms of technology, AI or things? Are they followers, or are the people who lag behind? So one, two, and three. What's your choice? Number one, are we leaders? Are we pioneers? Are we early adopters, or are we followers? Do we follow leaders and we just adopt with the passage of time, or do we lag behind and we suffer a lot of losses in terms of our lives as well as for our economy as well as for our companies?
That's the problem with third world countries. That
Yeah,
as AI grows, as its influence grows, the inequality will increase, even
yeah,
within each country, within the
hmm,
developed countries as well. But when you compare it with between a developed country and an undeveloped country, that would be, you know, enormous. So
hmm,
this is an alarming sign for us. Maybe we can try to, as an emergency, the developing countries should try to uh, train their new generation, give them vision, and try to be ahead in AI race. But given the fact that it requires a lot of investment, given the fact that it requires a lot of high end technology, cutting edge knowledge, uh, we are really not set for success in this domain.
Do you think we should invite a lot of people to discuss about our apprehensions and questions? And who do you think we should invite? Should we
See,
invite some ministers, or should we invite some corporate leaders, or should we invite academia? Because academia develops students, right, and the curriculum. What's your thought on that?
I think this is a slightly bigger problem than any particular minister can solve.
Hmm.
When you see Saudi Arabia, mashallah, when you see China,
Hmm.
they have sent like thousands of students,
Hmm.
hundreds or thousands of students, either hundreds or thousands, to US to study,
Hmm.
to get the technology, to work in their companies, and then they come back and bring their technology, bring their knowledge, and then we see homegrown companies, grow and compete with global companies eventually. So that's a
Yes.
very long-term strategy. You have to have a
Hmm.
vision for your generations to
Hmm.
be able to deal with these kind of situations, these
No,
kind of
but
challenges.
since you said there is no use of minister, but ministers are already talking about AI policy. So what about, are we not going to ask them about their AI policies, or maybe at a later stage advise them about their AI
It's not
policies?
about the domestic policy, it's about the global competing forces.
But still, Pakistani ministers are talking about policies, right? We already have some kind of policy, digital Pakistan or something like that. So what's your view on that? Should we invite those in our future discussions? Some of the ministers, some of the corporate entrepreneurs or CEOs. Would it add value discussing with these people, or do you have any? Uh, don't you have any hopes with them?
As long as you can have fun talking with them, that would be nice.
Okay,
But I
so it's
personally don't
fun.
have much hopes about something can really
Okay.
change because these are really big global forces. I don't see any particular country able to do this unless they are really committed from top to the end, which I do not expect anyone to be. And so, yes,
Hmm.
we can have some fun conversation, try to see what they are thinking, what they're seeing, how they're seeing the
Hmm.
world. That would be a good way of gauging whether we are uh, set for complete destruction or maybe we can survive in a way that's doable. Because see, at the end, it's all about incentivization. How do you incentivize people, your own young generation, to build new companies that can compete in the global world? How you
Hmm.
give them vision to be able to think beyond just getting a job? How do you train them to know that if you start a company you have to raise capital and eventually become a company? That particular story of any successful startup, that should be inbuilt into the university students when they are in university, and that's where we might eventually get some spark. And even if we do get some spark, those people, for all the right reasons, may want to register their companies in other countries because they don't want to face any restriction in their client acquisition in any country around the globe. So they would want to have different restrictions in different countries. And so again, if you talk about from the national perspective, let's say, if you want to talk about from national perspective, this might not still bring fruits inside the nation because of strong foreign exchange controls and current state of economy that we are in. And so I don't know how we can have a positive loop of events where small third world countries can, uh, under current political circumstances, which are not very democratic, result in a situation or systems which would result in technological growth and advancement in AI in a way that we compete with the global forces or the large companies around the globe.
Interesting. Interesting, which means you think there is not much we can do, and we cannot choose to be leaders in any case. We can
No,
only
we
choose
can.
to
There's
be
so much
followers.
we can
We
do.
can,
There's
but no, we can be
there's
followers. Instead of lagging behind, we can come from stage three, lagging behind, to stage two, followers.
Absolutely, that
That's a
should
big
be at least our
achievement.
objective. Yes, yes.
Okay.
Being a leader. See, China has been gaining technology for a very long time, but
Hmm.
still they say they are 10 years behind in chip technology, the
Hmm.
processors, right? They're still 10 years behind. They're still the followers.
Hmm.
Almost in all the technology, they have still not led the AI revolution. They are still, even the
Yep.
AI models are behind the US ones. So despite being on the right trajectory for doing everything right technologically
Hmm.
and capital wise,
Hmm.
still they are not the leader. They're still the followers, right? So yes,
Hmm.
if we have to do something, we have to first of all obtain the technology. I say it so many times, we have 100,000 engineers, but not a single person who makes an engine in Pakistan.
Hmm.
You get the point, right?
Hmm.
It's not a decade old problem. It's a 50-year-old problem.
Yeah, I can understand
Combustion
that.
engines are not a new invention. They are very, very old invention. How many companies can create a combustion engine in Pakistan? You do
In one
understand
of my, yeah, I remember in one of my interviews, Mr. Sayyid Shabazedi said that we have around 10,000 chartered accountants, but we do not even have a single author who has authored a book on any accounting or things like that. For example, you might have heard some names from India who has written about accounting, who have written about economics. But in Pakistan, we have zero, zero. Now, our authors are actually who have written the books are actually the curriculum books, the notes for the examinations. We do not have any original writer in terms of whether you talk about accounting, whether you talk about taxation, whether you talk about law, whether you talk about economics. We do not have any single original author or writer so far.
I
It's
think it
quite
would be a bold.
unfortunate. It's quite
I
unfortunate, actually.
I think it would be a bold claim to make. I think there would be some people
No,
who
I
would
am.
call.
Shabbas Zedi said that, and I also tried to
Is
figure it out. There are authors, but these authors are not original authors. The content is not theirs. The same
see,
content you can have. They have expressed their own verse, expressing someone else's thought. So the thought is not original. You understand my point?
this everything you're saying is unwarranted. I
Okay, try
believe.
to find out.
How can you how
Try
can
to
you
find
claim
out.
how
I
there's no mechanism? How
it's like you
there's
claim
no
that there is
mechanism?
like you claim that there is no engineer who has
Yeah.
invented any engine in
No,
Pakistan.
no, I'm not saying no engineer invented. They must have done great work outside. I'm saying in Pakistan, no engine is created, no engine is
Yes,
made. That's a
same.
fact,
In
right?
Pakistan, there has not been written any book on accountancy, original content, zero. Same thing. So actually,
Uh,
we have a problem. We have our education
I wish we
system
had
is also. Yep, same problem you are talking. I think similar could be found for
I
the
would
medical
agree. I would
sciences.
agree with you in a spirit that yes, the original thinking, original writing, authorship, and generating knowledge and spreading it. That kind of
Hmm.
thinking is lacking in
Now,
our educational system.
we
But
have,
I
we have
cannot
already.
completely agree with the claim that no one has ever written a book that's original. That would be slightly brutal, I would say.
Okay, try to find out and tell me if there is any challenge. So found, I have found zero. So if you
A book
find
about what?
something,
A book about what?
original book on accountancy. Okay, that's a separate discussion. We can take it offline. So if you find out something, share with me. But my question is about the problems of AI. Are there any problems of AI? Last 5 minutes, can we discuss on the problems or the issues? Should we rely on AI? For example, one of the problem I have recently seen is the quality of research papers internationally is going down, and they are blaming AI for that. A lot of people are using generative AI to write the research papers. So they say that the quality is going down, and they say that the human creativity is missing. What's your take on that?
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And when we talk about people using AI to write reports, there was a recent scandal where a Big Four company was caught preparing their reports
Yeah,
using AI,
I
and it was
remember that.
very,
There have
very,
been
very.
multiple cases. One of the firm was PwC, right?
Yeah, I don't exactly remember the name of the firm. I won't take the name.
Okay.
Let
Yeah.
me just try
So
to find out any the article that
sure.
I read, if I can share with you.
Right now or
Yeah,
later?
right now, why not?
Okay.
Do we have viewers on LinkedIn or YouTube right now?
Yeah, a few. There were a lot of viewers before some time, but I think currently we have a few only. Yeah,
Yeah,
you
basically
can
it was
share.
$40,000 report.
$40,000 report.
Four
Okay,
hundred forty thousand. They were probably
four
Australian
hundred
dollars,
forty. Hmm.
and the report says it was $290,000 report, and they used AI, and it was Deloitte, by the way.
Okay,
This is
so
this
this
is
is
probably
one
the
of the case. I think there have been multiple cases reported in various countries. You are referring
but
to Australian case.
yeah. Basically, when I searched Big Four firm used AI to write a report
Okay.
scandal, almost
Hmm.
all of the top results are about Deloitte. So this was the most
Okay.
famous one.
Okay. Okay. So they used report AI for their report writing.
Yeah, let me share with you
So
the
what was the
article.
issue? Okay, they use the AI. So what's wrong with that? Is there anything wrong with that?
There were critical mistakes in that report. They
Okay,
were
that's the
referring to
problem.
wrong people and wrong, they were referring to wrong sources. And so
So
when
it
you are
was actually hallucinations, and there was no human review.
there, absolutely hallucinations were in the final report. See, using AI is not a crime.
Yes,
Using AI is
that's no
nothing
problem.
wrong about it. The
Yes,
problem is how you use it and how you abuse it. So if you are relying on AI to write your whole report, you're not doing your own due diligence, despite the fact
yep,
that you're taking a
that's the problem.
huge fee for that report. That's where unethical practices come in.
Yes, and there was no fact check actually.
Yep. There were a lot of
So that's
hallucinations.
yes, right. And quite a few newspapers in Pakistan have also been found out using AI. And there was so much on social media. Maybe if you have something you can show on the screen. But I think a lot of people know this that use of AI was caught, and not only from the content, or but also from after the use of AI. Normally, ChatGPT asks you if you want me to do so and so and so, I can also do this and do this and do this. So the
Yeah.
same was exactly copy pasted in an article by one of the renowned newspaper in Pakistan.
Yeah. You told me that before, earlier as well.
Yeah, but you
I
have
sh-
also seen that, right? So you have also
no, no,
seen
I
that.
haven't seen it. I heard it from you, but
Okay, I
it's
will see.
completely
I will
logical,
see.
completely
I will
understandable.
send you.
This happens very,
I
very
will
frequently
send
with
to you.
people.
Okay, but that was already on a lot of social media as well.
It
So
happens
actually,
in firms as well. When people give their work for review to their seniors, they find out that they have this kind of,
hmm.
maybe
No.
export to Google
So
Sheets or
what's your
whatever.
view? What's your view on the use of AI? My view is that there is nothing wrong in using AI, but if there is any article, any image, anything is generated through AI, a disclaimer should be there that the AI has been used to generate this. For example, if you generate an image from ChatGPT and post on LinkedIn, the LinkedIn will show on the left top side CR. If someone clicks on that CR, it will show how this image was generated. And if it is through ChatGPT, it will show in CR that this image has been generated on through ChatGPT on this and this date.
Yeah.
So this is auto recognized by LinkedIn, right? From the features of the image. So likewise, if you are writing for your newspaper, if it can be any newspaper or your report, you should also mention that this matter has been generated through AI. So I believe there is nothing wrong, but there should be rules and there should be ethics. And currently, we do not have any standards or code of ethics for the use of AI anywhere. Do we
See,
have any
if
such standards? For example, ICAP. Does ICAP have any code of ethics for the use of AI right now? No. Does IBA have any code of ethics? I don't know if they have any code of ethics for the use of AI. So I think all the institutions, whether it is academia or maybe the corporates, maybe the newspapers, all should have a policy regarding use of generative AI. What's your take on that?
See, first of all, if you are talking about credits and you're giving credit to AI,
Hmm.
then people would naturally be uh, less eager to read your content. If you're saying that this content was
Okay,
partially
okay.
generated by AI,
There is one thing. And suppose if you don't disclose and they find out that your content is AI generated, then
yeah.
the
Let
situation
me
is
start
worse, I think.
assessing. Let me start assessing your concern, right? So this
Yeah.
is one concern that if you simply disclose, so let's say if Big Four write the reports and they say that AI was used in generation of these reports, uh,
Whatever, not the complete report. The part they have generated through AI, it should be
yeah,
mentioned.
if they can simply say that AI was used in generation of this paragraph, let's say, that would be absolutely weird. But
Or
instead,
image, or data analytics, or some figure, or something, anything. Yeah,
yeah. But the problem is
specifically.
this does not resolve the core ethical question. The core ethical question is that when I paid you to make the judgment, to make all the
Hmm,
to use human judgment to bring up with the recommendations, why are you using the chat GPT content to write the recommendations, right? That's the
hmm,
concern. So
hmm.
this has to be tackled slightly differently, right? Rather than just disclaiming something, right?
So, so,
One
so,
way is
so,
one way is
so,
to
so
retrain your
actually, this disclaimer do a lot of things. If you are disclaiming, if you are asked to write the source, so automatically you will have to decide yourself. Otherwise, you will have to say that I have not made any decision, and the complete work was outsourced to the AI, and I have done nothing to create this report. And you will be very embarrassed by while saying this, right? So since you're feeling so embarrassed, it is automatically you will do your own work, especially the decision making. Your You will use your own judgment instead of depending on AI to use judgment.
let me ask you a question. If you are asked to disclaim
Hmm.
that AI did not influence my judgment in writing this report, can
Yeah,
you disclaim that? Can you
yeah,
disclaim that? No, you cannot.
yeah.
If you talk
No,
to AI,
I
you
should actually.
you would
For example, in
inevitably
some of my posts on LinkedIn, I mentioned that no AI has been used to create my post.
right. But
Why?
if you are
Because
using
some
AI,
people might think, yeah, if I'm using AI, then I should mention such and such parts were created through AI. Or maybe I can disclaim like this that my thoughts are my original, but writing has been made enhanced by AI.
see
So
when you
it's my
talk to
judgment,
AI,
my thoughts, my story, my things, but the use has been made for enhancement of the writing, the grammar, and things like that.
see first of all, in the old days when you had a very judgmental question, you have to look at tax laws or accounting laws or corporate laws. You would go into Google or you would read the laws yourself. Right now, you can simply talk to ChatGPT and then refer to the laws and then be very confident that both things match, right?
Mm,
But if inevitably you're talking to ChatGPT or Gemini, even if you're writing the entire report manually, even if
mm,
you're writing the whole thing yourself, you're still talking to the AI, and that AI is inevitably influencing your decision. You irrespective of
Hmm.
whether you accept it or not, it would somehow have an influence on your decision. So you
Mm,
cannot make that disclaimer. Anyways, what you have to
yeah.
do is you have to be responsible, right?
Yes. Yes.
and
True.
that
True.
and that responsibility comes by retraining your staff to use that AI as a worker and then review that work. So
Hmm.
eventually you own all the responsibility. But if you fail in that review to the extent that you are bringing out those sentences where it says, I suggest that, I would do this for you, I would do that for
Okay.
you.
Simple question: are you in favor of generative AI ethics policy by companies, by governments, by institutions? Gen
Yes,
AI
absolutely.
code of
Absolutely.
ethics.
Absolutely,
So
yes.
actually, I was referring to that at the start of my question. I mentioned about the code of ethics for generative AI. Now, what should be in the code of ethics? If we can discuss it separately.
Yeah.
You said that this requirement of use, whether AI was used, whether it should be mentioned or not. So you disagree it should not be. I
No,
said that there must be
I did
some
not
disclaimer or
entirely
some
disagree.
mention.
I'm saying even if you mention it was agreed,
Hmm.
you use it,
Hmm.
is still the core ethical issue is not resolved.
Yeah, that's understood. That's understood. But at least you can at least you are communicating with the world whether you have used AI or not. So my point is, if the newspapers are already using AI, they should disclose. If an
Yeah.
article has been produced through AI, I should be knowing. Being a reader, I should be knowing that it is AI content or AI assisted content, not purely human content. And if some article is purely human content without use of any assistance from AI, including the thoughts, including brainstorming or whatever. If it is purely human created, I should be aware that it is purely human created. You understand?
I do understand that there could be journalistic standards, there could be accounting standards which would define that you have to claim it. And maybe in the beginning it would be painful, but eventually, if all of them write, let's say all the firms, all the big four firms write on their reports, AI assistant was used, I think then it
I
would
think
become a norm. It would become a normal
we
thing
would
and
be
not a
in a
big deal.
serious problem. I think we would be in a serious problem in future. Uh, when 99% of the content would be AI generated.
And
Even we
how?
might be able to produce Mirza Ghalib and Faiz Ahmed Faiz. So we should be able to identify which is original Ghalib as human and which is AI generated Ghalib or versions of Ghalib. AI version of Google, AI version of OpenAI, AI version of Pakistan Institute of AI, or whatever.
See,
You understand?
what you're talking about right now is impersonation, which is a
Huh.
completely different story. It's a completely different story. It is happening right now
Yes,
on TikTok, on
yes,
YouTube. People are
yes.
being impersonated with AI, and they cannot
Even
do anything.
before even before AI, I have read and heard a lot of uh, uh, poetry work from Ahmed Faraz, which have actually not been written by Ahmed Faraz. So there are a lot of poetry which say Faraz, Faraz, Faraz in the verses, but those verses are not written by Ahmed Faraz actually. There are a lot of verses associated with Ghalib, which were never written by Mirza Ghalib. There are a lot of verses that associated with Allama Iqbal, which have never been written by Mr. Allama Iqbal. So we have already gone through a lot of content. There are a lot of, for example, hadiths, which are actually not hadiths, which are not written anywhere, but which are quoted randomly, and which are very famous,
Yeah.
which are
So
not even in the six books mentioned by Sunni or books mentioned by Shia Muslims. So none of the authentic books have those hadiths, but these are very common actually. They are used in daily life. So before AI generation, we are already dealing with such challenges, and after AI generation, can you imagine the challenge?
see, if you're talking about impersonation and people using their voices to clone their voice and face, whoever would do that would do that with a malicious intention, right? And they would not
Not
disclose it
necessarily malicious intention, not necessarily.
for
Maybe
fun,
with a good,
maybe
maybe
fun,
maybe
maybe.
not even for the fun. maybe for the right things. Maybe they want to spread something good,
Hmm.
but they are using someone else's name. You understand? Like hadith. Hadith, even if the hadith is not in the six authentic books, still the hadith talk about the good things to do, right? So people try to associate good things with some personality. For example, Prophet Muhammad, or for example, Hazrat Ali. So people try to associate actually what are they trying to convey with some personality name. So the intentions are not bad. Intentions are good, and the quotes are not bad. Quotes are very good actually, and these are not for fun. You understand? So human human intentions can vary actually.
Yeah, obviously. And see, when we're talking, I'm just trying to ask how it's relevant when we talk about the ethical standards for AI, because whoever is doing these things is
Hmm.
doing for the purpose of deception, even if
No,
for
but
fun.
he would be punishable if found guilty. He would be punishable. The standards and codes and laws are to punish people, actually, so that so that they are very serious and whether to commit that mistake or not.
That makes
So,
sense. Yes.
yeah. So actually, it should be a sin to create something unethical through AI. आप इसको sin
You
कह
are
लें, आप
you
इसको
and I
गलती
cannot
कह लें,
decide.
आप उसको कह लें.
You and I cannot decide what is sin and what is not, or what is
नहीं,
legal
sin
and what is
is
not legal.
sin का मतलब वो Islamic sense में नहीं कह रहा हूँ. I'm saying that it should be a crime actually. And the level of crime would also and actually in future जैसे मैं देख रहा हूँ ना फ्यूचर में एआई में तो मैं समझता हूँ उसमें बहुत सारे लॉज आएंगे और उस पे कौन सा एक्ट क्राइम है और कौन सा नहीं है कौन सा जो है वो उस पे वो सीरियस क्राइम है कौन सा जो है वो छोटा क्राइम है ये सब डिसाइड होगा देखिए जब आपकी पूरी दुनिया ही एआई पे चल रही होगी आपके बहुत सारी चीज़ें आपके डिसीजन आपके डिवाइसेस आपकी कम्युनिकेशन एआई पे होंगी तो फिर हम एआई रिलेटेड लॉज नहीं जी रहे होंगे ना आपके जो फ्रॉड्स अभी भी बहुत सारे हो रहे हैं उसमें
Because
एआई का
AI
यूज
risk AI risks would be so immense that we would have to figure out how to mitigate those risks, and
अच्छा
it would
दोनों
not be
साइड है
possible
दोनों साइड्स
without
है
the
ना
standards and without the laws against them. And so this would eventually become
so
inevitable. That's what you're
currently
saying.
as of today you can use AI to create frauds fraudulent transactions right you can use AI for fraudulent purposes and at the same time you can create AI to control and minimize those fraudulent transactions so
Yeah.
both uses are possible technology is as good as technology it depends on human intentions.
Yeah. But the problem is when we have more and more power, it's more and more likely to be used in the wrong way, and it eventually gets used. Especially, it depends on how we define right and wrong. Right now, there's a very big company that's in the news. It's called Palantir, and what it does is it tries to get defense contracts from all the governments, and it
Hmm.
tries to uh, provide the best surveillance services, which many people are now calling unethical and in the wrong way. But with power, a lot of these things open up, and therefore
Hmm.
with power comes responsibility, and there should be some way, some standards, some code of ethics to to impose that responsibility upon people who are using it or who are enabling its benefits.
Hmm. Palantir. Interesting.
Yeah, penalty is hot right now in the news.
Uh, can I show my screen to share whether it's the same thing or not? Share
Sure,
screen. Palantir news. Yeah. Yeah. Can you see my screen?
it's starting to appear. Yeah.
Palantir. Palantir. There are a lot of news. Mad police using AI tools supplied by Palantir to flag officer misconduct. So it's a good thing actually, right?
uh, Most people on YouTube would say it's not a good thing.
Okay.
It grew very fast. It's now a
Okay.
$250 billion company now,
Okay.
and
Why is Palantir so controversial and what prompted its move to Miami? Palantir Ds are a threat to our data rights as UK citizens. Okay.
basically speaking,
So this-
it's giving a lot of power to governments, and so the
Hmm.
civil rights of the people living in the countries
Hmm.
um, at risk. By the way, and so if it becomes a new norm that countries can survey, complete do complete surveillance of their population, and track their things in a
Hmm.
way that they are not supposed to be tracked.
And,
Then
and, and his stock value is also falling. Why is Palantir stock down 37% 2 days ago from its peak? Its worst ever for PLTR. US judge blocks ex Palantir staffers from poaching workers for new AI firm. Forbes Palantir stock the setup for the next major rally. Is Palantir stock winning the AI race? Palantir billionaire Peter Thiel dumped Nvidia, Tesla, Microsoft, and Apple. What stocks does he own for 2026? Play the
so
SaaS equivalent.
Peter, do you know Peter Thiel?
Sorry?
Do you know Peter Thiel?
No.
Peter Thiel is a very visionary investor. Some people are now painting him in a negative light, and maybe
Hmm.
for some good reasons, I don't know. But he was the co-founder of PayPal. He was the
Hmm.
co-founder of Google DeepMind, which resulted in all the AI boom that we are seeing right now. And he
Hmm.
started. He was also probably an investor in Palantir, and Palantir started in 2003, by the way, to help the U.S.
Oh, okay.
government find do the want error at that time. And so the CEO at that time used to come and say, I also have to do, issues the kill bill and all those kind of things. So I don't know, it's a slightly controversial thing you get into.
Hmm.
But in addition, the Peter Thiel is kind of an investor that sees a lot of that has been involved in a lot of small companies that eventually became very big and successful companies. So he's if you look at him, and he has some good works about entrepreneurship and startups and investing, and
Hmm.
his perspective is really solid on that, apart from the controversies and maybe some objectionable things that they have created.
Hmm.
From the investor's point of view, I think he has a very good vision.
Hmm. Okay. So I think let's close it here. It's already 4:30 almost. So we
Absolutely.
have spent a good time of around 1.5 hour today. So let's discuss next week for further news. Maybe we can also discuss every week's news, the conferences, the development in terms of AI, the new technologies. What do you think?
Yeah, I think our focus should be on the updates, on what's
Hmm.
relevant, what's on the top, what should be on the top of the mind of
Yeah.
any aware citizen as well as professionals.
Hmm.
And also, I would want to add things that are good for personal development, personal growth, career development,
Yep.
and maybe switching from career to startups. That is
Okay.
something that's close to my heart. But we can have good, well-rounded
Hmm.
discussions on all these topics that interest people.
Yeah. So there is a comment from Asaf Khan, early
Yeah,
investor of Facebook, author of
0 to 1. Yeah,
0 to
he's the
1.
author of
Yeah.
0 to 1.
Okay.
Peter
Okay.
CL. Good
Interesting.
relation.
So I think I have a pretty good idea today after this discussion that every week we should discuss about news as well as few persons like you mentioned some name, some companies. So every week we should have highlight one company, one person, one news. What do you say? And we should also theme and brand it as what would people learn from this as takeaways. So if for example if one person is attending every week, he should be well aware about what's happening in the world in terms of AI, in terms of developments or digitalization, or maybe any financial or accounting or any risk or corporate updates. What do you think?
Absolutely. I think we should iterate different topics which
Hmm.
interest us. First of all, if we are not engaged, we are not interested, people would find it hard to engage with us. So just like today, we were
Hmm.
excited at a lot of places, which is a good sign.
Hmm.
And because in the first podcast, we are very transparent about what we are thinking and what we're doing. So the
Hmm.
idea is to add value to other people's
So
lives and to
how do you rate today's podcast or discussion,
I would want to be
irrespective
brutal.
irrespective of the attendance, because we have not created so much hype, we have not made any efforts on marketing. Actually, I have not added people on my LinkedIn post. I just mentioned that we are going to have the discussion yesterday, so it's less than 24 hours it was published. And I think without doing anything, a lot of people have already listened to this on YouTube as well as on LinkedIn. But what is your take on the theme, on discussions? Uh, how do you rate this webinar?
I would rate it very brutally. Don't ask me.
Yeah, how do you rate it?
Brutally, I would rate it very brutally if you ask me.
Brutally.
So
Okay. Yeah, please go ahead.
sure.
So
So
out of 10, how out of 10 is one, two, three, four,
in terms
five,
of
six?
quality of the content we have discussed so far, it's
Hmm.
like 7.
Out of
We
10.
should have shown more things to
Okay.
give more depth to what we discussed. Firstly,
Okay.
in terms of quality of the visuals that we have on the screen, I would rate
Yeah.
it 5.
Okay.
Maybe we can have better arrangement of videos, like the screen should be fully covered in some way, maybe,
Okay. Okay.
and the camera should be better. Even my
Okay.
camera is sucks. So those are, when we talk about the depth of the discussion,
Hmm.
how deep we went into a particular topic, I would say maybe 8.
Okay.
um,
Thank you. Good. Yeah.
whether I'm not your guest, I'm I'm the co-host, so don't treat me
Hmm.
like one.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
how would you rate today's podcast, by the way?
Yeah, I think we can make a lot. I asked this because I have read it somewhere that your first webinar or first podcast is going to be bad, but you have to do it in any case. But if my bad one, the first one, which is the bad one, if it is so good, it is still taking a ranking of even 5 out of 10, which is a good achievement for me actually, because you have not ranked anything below 5, even if it is ranked as 2 or 3, being a first podcast, and we are actually experiencing. And let me tell you honestly, there is the first podcast I am doing it in English. So most of my podcasts or interviews are in Urdu or are in English, little
Hmm.
bit English, little bit Urdu. So today, so far, 95% of the time, I'm trying to speak in English, which is tough for me actually, because
See,
I'm not used to speak in
yeah,
English.
the problem is, if we don't speak English and we start in Urdu, we might not be able to, you know, reach a lot of people in South India. We might not be
Yeah.
able to reach a lot of people in Bangladesh. We might not be able to reach a lot of people in the Middle East, in the UAE, in Saudi, and of course any person from, Central Asia, the rest of the world, of course.
But I'm having difficulty because if it was in Urdu, I could have quoted Ghalib's poetry. I could have quoted anything else which I know in Urdu. So there are a lot of things in my mind. The most of the literature I read is in Urdu actually,
Yeah, no,
whatever I
beautiful.
listen, whatever I view is mostly in Urdu. I live in Pakistan. Most of the time my language I speak at companies, at work, at home is Urdu actually. Yep. But actually I'm also learning. So as a learning, how would you rate this as a learning experience?
As a learning experience, I would rate it. Yeah, we will learn quite a bit by this podcast itself. How we would share screen, how we would share the content. Maybe I think there's a lot of depth in what makes a good podcast, and we will learn. There's a lot to learn. I think the more we explore, the better.
Hmm. Okay. So let's close it. We have
By the
already
way,
exceeded. Yeah.
let me ask you a question. How would you rate uh, this podcast in terms of engagement? How engaging was it?
I don't know. People can tell us. For me, uh, both of us were very engaged, and we discussed open-heartedly, and some of the points we disagreed as well. So you had a different point of view, I had a different point of view, but there was no controversial topic today, and actually, most of the things actually we are aligned, except for few things. But in future, we might have some kind of topics where where I have a different view and you have a different view, so that people and audience have at least two views instead of one.
Yeah. In my view, the engaging rating would be like 5 out of 10, and
Okay.
that's primarily because of the topics. First of all,
Hmm.
we have one topic, and it did not have so many different. Even though it had a lot of angles, but
Hmm.
not all of those angles were coupled with something very interesting. Firstly,
Hmm.
secondly, sometimes we dragged a little bit more into things that we did not need to. Even though going on tangent sometimes was good, but we
Hmm.
dragged on certain topics which wasn't in the most engaging or interesting thing. So, from
Okay.
interesting and engaging perspective, I would give it 5 out of 10.
Okay. So actually, it's an achievement being the
Most
first one. Okay. Okay. Let's continue the series. And number two, would you love to have more guests? So we have a third opinion.
absolutely. As long as he's not a very boring person and he's ready to have fun with us,
Okay.
it would be good to have guests, inshallah.
Okay.
And it was
Okay.
great starting this podcast with you and all the audience that are saying is thank you for your time. Thank you for bearing with us. Do let us know if you want us specific topics. We did read the comment recently, but I could not recall it about the investment and trading related topics that the person shared. But we would like to, bring up topics that you really want.
Yeah,
Better
Asaf
podcast.
Khan is listening, I think, for so long. He's still here and he's saying better podcast. Engagement was good. Yeah.
Thank you, Asif.
So,
Very
Asaf, it is our first one. We would be getting better and better and better with each episode, inshallah.
kind.
Thank you, Imad. All thanks to you. You convinced me for this podcast.
Thank you,
We
Asaf,
would,
and thank you for the audience. Thank you, Asaf, for being such a nice commenter.
yeah,
And don't forget to join us next week, inshallah, at the same time on Thursday, 2 p.m. UA time.
yeah. It's GST actually, Gulf Standard Time.
Absolutely.
Okay. So this is Shehzad Dhedhi signing off. Bye bye. Hafiz. Take care.